to the car that was a lemon.
When the lights went green, the whole car just died.
The battle to get it sorted.
I'm owed thousands of dollars.
And how it really turned sour.
This man is something else.
Otho katoa, welcome to the show.
Now, we have all heard stories of great salespeople, gift of the gab, sweet-talking, silver-tongued.
Well, this isn't one of them. The woman in the next story copped abuse, personal insults and name-calling. Here's Jill.
Downtime with her son's the best way for Siobhan to relax, and she needs to. It's been a tough few months. There was the photographer trying to snap her in the street.
I felt very vulnerable.
The phone calls.
I've had to deal with people ringing up, trying to intimidate me.
I'm a freelance journalist.
Where is this information going?
Well, answer the question and I might be able to tell you.
Then there was the Facebook post.
It was actually really vile what he was saying about me and my son and my son's father.
And what looked like a news story about Siobhan sent to her phone.
It just goes beyond belief that a professional outfit that is conducting business in our community thinks that that is acceptable.
It's all linked to a West Auckland car dealer and a sale that went wrong. The news story sent to Siobhan was full of quotes from its owner, who happens to be a competitive kickboxer.
The two K1 New Zealand champions, Peck versus Barney.
Known as Andrew Powerhouse Peck, the story quotes him as responding to Siobhan's one-star Google review of his company, saying,
"If these comments continue, I'll be taking action to silence her for good."
It all left Siobhan shaken.
I was actually diagnosed with PTSD.
But she also had some understanding.
It's definitely a two-sided situation.
So what's been happening? Well, Siobhan was driving an old second-hand Toyota like this for years.
I did not have one problem with it.
But a new community job promoting staying safe from COVID meant thinking big.
I needed a wagon space because I was carrying marketing display equipment around.
She saw an old Audi online.
It's affordable, it's black.
She was reassured it was a great car, and she liked the fact it was from Universal Imports.
I want to support people in our local communities.
So she snapped it up. She got $2,000 for her old Toyota, she put $7,000 on finance, and off she went.
I felt wonderful.
But no pre-purchase report. Uh-oh.
I realised that this is where I've made a mistake.
And guess what?
2 weeks later, the car actually broke down. When the lights went green, the whole car just died.
Still, Universal Imports stepped up and towed the car back for repairs. But
I picked it up. I'm 10 minutes from the car yard. I drove it into the driveway and it broke down again. Sought some advice from a lawyer I knew, and they suggested that I reject the vehicle under the Consumer Guarantees Act.
What was their response?
That they would come and pick it up and have another attempt at repairing it.
Several weeks later, she got it back.
It was a faulty speed sensor.
Siobhan knows an 18-year-old car with 184,000 on the clock will have wear and tear issues. But given it was used to ferry her son around, she wanted to be absolutely sure it was safe.
Decided to take it to an independent mechanic
for a post-purchase inspection. And
the list of what was wrong with the car was ridiculous. I said to them again, I am enacting my right under the Consumer Guarantees Act to reject this vehicle.
But her request was ignored, so she made a complaint to the Motor Vehicle Disputes Tribunal. Both parties filed mechanics reports, but they were so different the Motor Vehicle Disputes Tribunal did its own assessment.
But even those findings were mixed, so how would the fight play out?
Universal Imports won on some points and Siobhan took out some others. But in the end, the tribunal ruled in Siobhan's favour. Universal Imports had to take back the car and pay her $3,300.
It felt like relief. After 8 months, finally I can get my life back. I can get my money back, use that for a deposit for another car.
But no, she's still borrowing a car lent by a friend.
Shows that there are definitely nice people in this world.
And thank goodness, because while Universal Imports took back the Audi and settled with the finance company, it's ignored the tribunal's ruling to pay back Siobhan.
Yes, I am owed thousands of dollars.
And it was in the weeks after the tribunal that she received their own news story on her phone. It made for unpleasant reading. Andy likens meeting her to
being diagnosed with dysentery.
It says she made Andy's life
and absolute misery with her campaign of lies and misinformation on social media.
She says the only thing she'd posted was a 1-star Google review.
I then shared that review to the Massey community page on Facebook.
It criticised the company, claiming it was shady, dishonest and dodgy. But their response got personal, calling her comments
half-truths and lies by someone frustrated and perhaps on medication of some type, legal or otherwise.
Then a post from Andrew Peck on his own Facebook page got really personal.
It's a solo mother, of course, which means some drunk soul must have been severely wasted to sire a kid with it, or perhaps artificial insemination was performed due to the visual horror that it is.
He might be used to his tactics working in the ring, but he wasn't beating Siobhan. She stumped up $600 in legal fees for a letter demanding payment or court action. She's also come to us at Fair Go, who agreed to look at the situation.
Is this Universal Imports?
We wanted to give Andrew Peck a chance to have his say.
I'm just following up on an email that I sent last week.
You really have to speak to the owner who's in Japan.
Have you got a number I can contact him on?
He actually won't pick up.
No time to talk, but thankfully, time to pay. At last, after almost 6 weeks of waiting, Siobhan has her money.
It was a huge relief. It felt like instant closure.
There was a response to Fair Go's email too. No explanation for the delay in payment. Instead,
Gilligan. It's quite a catchy name, actually. I assume you're still feeling your way at Fair Go, dreaming, hoping that one day you'll be offered the presenter's chair. If that is ever to be a possibility, then you need to engage your brain before asking silly questions which expose what a limited grasp you have of the issues.
This man is something else.
more derogatory comments about Siobhan too.
Like stink on a politician, a woman with attitude and no brains.
There's no professionalism in there whatsoever. I'm just astounded that there is no point that he can say, look, we've made a mistake, it has been a bad deal for both of us, I've paid the money, let's just move on.
It's what Siobhan wants to do, and she hopes others can learn from her bad experience.
I wanted to make sure my community was aware so that they could make an informed decision when choosing where they want to spend their hard-earned money on a big investment like a car.
Whoa, talk about a battle and a half for Siobhan, but how much of it could have been avoided with just more legal support?
Siobhan won her case, but then had to fight to get paid, and it's a situation that Fair Go's been championing for years. Jill's not giving up.
This seat should be occupied by Minister of Justice Chris Farfoy. We wanted to ask him questions about the stressful issue affecting all these people. People like Claire Good. After 4 years, she's still waiting on nearly $20,000 from a builder after a tribunal ruled in her favour.
It just felt like a complete waste of time.
Siobhan's the latest to come to Fair Go. Awarded $3,300 by the Motor Vehicle Disputes Tribunal, she faced a fight for that money herself.
It's half a service. If they're not prepared to help me enforce the decision they've made, what's the point?
At least the Motor Vehicle Disputes Tribunal already has some teeth. Failure to pay more than once in 10 years can lead to a debtor being banned from trading. In the General Disputes Tribunal, though, we've seen debtors like Michael Simmons repeatedly fail to hand over the money he's been ordered to pay with no consequences.
He obviously had no firm intention to repay our money.
Erskine Hewitt is one of several to be owed thousands after campervan deals went wrong.
Why can't the police charge him with it?
It's a question Fair Go's been asking for some time. Last year, the former Justice Minister Andrew Little telling us he wanted change too.
I accept that there is a gap. I accept that there's more that ought to be done to assist people. It might require some law change to give the Disputes Tribunal some more powers. Otherwise, it would be the kind of financial assistance to go to the district court to get enforcement action taken, some sort of legal aid.
Since then, these people are still thousands out of pocket despite having won their cases. Surely they deserve the attention of Mr. Farfoy, but no discussion. Just a statement to tell us this.
Earlier this year, the Judiciary Rules Committee sought views on what could make a more effective disputes tribunal system. The committee plans to publish its response to those submissions next year.
Well, we already know the tribunal should have more clout to help those that need it.
You know, we've got legislation and a justice system that is meant to help the most vulnerable, but this process has shown me that the most vulnerable get left behind.
It needs to be bolder, and perhaps the minister does too.
Minister Farfoy, know you're a busy man, but that seat, we're just going to leave it right there for you, just in case you change your mind.
We will, and hopefully there will be some traction on that next year.